Namaste, Sudha, and good morning, and welcome to HinduLounge. Sudha, this is episode number 40. So we are so thrilled that we have been able to do this for 40 weeks. And Utsada, while I'm here, I want to introduce the show to all the people who have already started joining us. So for everyone who is just joining us, this is Hindu Lounge. Hindu Lounge is a weekly uh, advocacy and current affairs program for American Hindus. It's brought to you by Hindu Pact, and Hindu Pact is an initiative of World Hindu Council of America. I am Ajay Shah. I'm the president of Vishwa Hindu Parishad of America, or World Hindu Council of America. And with me, as always, is Utsav Chakrabarti. Utsav Chakrabarti is the executive director for Hindu Pact. And for those who are just joining us, Hindu Pact is our policy research and advocacy initiative. And we do a lot of activities under the Hindu Pact umbrella, ranging from voter education to policy research to advocacy on Hindu issues. And Utsoda, welcome. And this is an exciting program. But and I want you to kind of take a lead and introduce today's topic. So, Utsoda, what are we talking about today?
Namaste Ajay Bhai, and good morning everybody. And this is our 40th program, so we have managed to put together some amount of effort and initiative to keep this going, and we are going pretty strong over the last 40 weeks. So hopefully you all join us every weekend, and if you are listening to this, then I'm pretty sure you do. So this week's program is actually pretty interesting. Not in a good way, but the topic is Indian farm laws. As many of you may be aware that India passed new farm laws. So the topic is Indian farm laws. The Hindu haters find another cause and new allies. The reason I came up with this topic, and this is we had a lot of discussion between myself and Ajay Bhai whether how we should come up with this topic, but I think, we here like to do plain speak, and I think there is no better way to put this. And this is about Indian farm laws, but the Hindu haters have found another cause and found new allies. And we are going to discuss in this event, in this program, how that has been done, who are the players, at least the ones who are visible in the front, and what's going on with them, and what should we expect in the future. Because as you all know, this program is not just about what's happening now, but it is also kind of looking at things that are going to happen. We analyze and we predict. So let's go for it, Ajay Bhai.
Hey, Utsada, before we start, I want to ask you, did you hear the intro music that was coming, or it was not audible?
I did not hear it, unfortunately.
Yeah, Utsada, we have a special, a very special intro music. And I want to credit two people who actually put in multiple days in recording this. This is, so I want to, it's Professor Bharat Jayaraman and Padma Jayaraman, and they contributed this awesome custom music as the intro music for this show. So Utsara, we are going to, I hope everyone likes this music. I really liked it, and they spent a lot of time coming up with this particular music. So Utsara, I am going to share this music, and please tell me if you can hear this. Can you hear it? So while this is playing in the background, I want to also remind people, I'll reduce the volume a little bit so I can talk and you can listen to this music in background. And then towards the end of the show, we'll play this whole clip. We'll play this entire clip, okay? So I'll just fade this a little bit. And I want to, last week we had this show on Hindu Sunday schools. And some of the people said who listened to the show wanted to call and express their opinion. And I want to tell the people that please do call in. I've just posted the mobile numbers and the meeting IDs that you can call and join us and express your view on last week's show on Hindu Sunday schools. We would love to hear from you, and especially if you disagree with us, we would like to hear from you even more because we want to learn from you, and we want to we want to have a discourse and a discussion on this because that is what we Hindus do. We actually discuss and come up with better solutions through Manthan and Chintan. So please do feel free to call in. And if you want to on any other topic also, if you want to just call us and join us, I we absolutely welcome your participation. So that there are, I want to share this slide, which kind of triggered a lot of the discussion in the not in the Indian media but in the foreign media, and just kind of set stage with you for you about the discussion that we are going to have. Right. So let me start by sharing this one particular slide and get your view on this slide. Uh, this is a tweet from, and I hope you can see my screen. This is a tweet, Utsada, that came from Rihanna. And Rihanna has probably, 102 million followers on Twitter. Obviously a very well-known pop star, and a lot of following on the social media. And she is talking about Indian farm laws. I'm sure Sada, she has some Indian connections, and she visits the farms in India, and she has really gotten to know the farmers in India, right? Otherwise, someone sitting in America who's from Caribbean, why does she care? So my gut feel is that uh, through her, network and all that, she must have known about the farmers in India. I'm sure she has visited them over the years. She has seen how they, what kind of conditions they live in, and when they go on a protest march, she is out, verbalizing their protest. Am I wrong, Utsada? Utsada, you're on mute, Utsada. The Zoom, the most famous statement in Zoom. But yeah, please tell me, am I wrong, or you purposely went mute because you didn't you agreed with me?
No, I went mute because I didn't want to bring in other sounds while you were playing the music, background music.
Ah,
So
okay.
so I just try to be polite in case some background noise comes in. Uh, but coming back to our topic, yeah, this Rihanna tweet was meant to be India's Arab Spring moment. That was the intention. That was why it was done. And Rihanna, I'm pretty sure, probably cannot figure out where Punjab or Delhi is on the map of the world. Uh, but the tweet caused one of the most, in modern times, I would say in the last 5 years of social media history, it would go down as one of the most pivotal moments of public outrage. Um, I would say in modern times, because what the tweet did, and mind you, Rihanna has 102 million followers. She's one of the most popular followed social media people out there, and her tweeting this literally triggered a billion people's response from around the world. And I do not think that she tweeted knowing what she was tweeting about, but we will go into the details of what triggered that tweet and who are the people behind uh, the influencers. The reason I mentioned the word Arab Spring is because there is more connection to it than just the outward desire to cause unrest in other countries. There are people involved who probably are more related to Arab Spring than just the
Hey,
topic.
are you really telling me that she does not know she does not know the farm belt in India, and she has not visited, and she has not gotten to know the farmers, and that's why she said this? She tweeted this.
I think so. And
Oh, that's
but that is,
so that sounds really patronizing. Come on, I mean, come on. I mean, this is Rihanna. Why would she? She would not just put out a tweet like this,
no, no,
unless,
but
of course, there is some money involved or something. Was there any money involved here, Utsada?
there was money involved. And
Really? How
yes, yes.
much?
That was about $2.5 million.
How do you know, Utsada? How do you know?
Because this is out in the media, and not
Which
just media.
media? Fake
That's the
media?
important.
Real media? Which media?
So that's the point which we are going to discuss today. That
Oh, but I hope you can back up what you're saying here. I mean, we have 102, 103 million Rihanna supporters are going to be now bashing you if you cannot back this up.
true. So we will be discussing the groups involved, and we will be discussing the companies that paid Rihanna, and we will be discussing the media outlets that put them out, because none of those media outlets until yesterday were considered fake media. They were considered true media because they were not in support of what this entire protest is all about, which is opposing the current government of India led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So even media outlets who are not in support of Prime Minister Narendra Modi have come out with information that point to this kind of a global network that is operating with significant amount of monies. I must say, 2.5 million for a tweet is no small change, and we should discuss that. But before we go forward, Ajay bhai, I could not finish when I was speaking about Rihanna's tweet. She No, it is not necessary like you have to be in Delhi or you have to know the farmers to actually tweet about them. That's not the point. The point is that you could be anywhere and have an opinion about something else happening in another part of the world. I have never visited North Korea, but I have an opinion about North Korea. I've never visited Cuba. I have an opinion about Fidel Castro. That is true. But the important part here is what happens when you express that opinion and how that opinion is used for creating violence on the ground. And that's where I think we have an issue. I think everybody can have an opinion, but the counter opinion also needs to be given credence and importance, and some level of equality in terms of its promotion. Only then an opinion can stand the test of truth and verification. And in this case, I think what happened is that there's only one side that is projecting opinion, not based on truth, and that is intended not just for creating a false narrative, but actually violence, which is where the problem comes.
So that I think you I, can you hear me okay?
Yes, yes, I can hear.
Okay. So that I hear what you're saying, but I mean, come on, $2.5 million. Who has that kind of money? Look at this one. Did this person get paid as well? I'm gonna. This is really interesting because so that I don't think I shared this video. I don't think I shared this video with you earlier, but I want to share this video if I can play this. And the reason I want to play this is because this summarizes the narrative that the collective Hindu bashers, Hindu haters, Hindu phobes, what do you name you want to give them, um, this is their entire narrative. Okay, so I'm going to play this for you, and I'm going to ask you for your opinion. It's about 3 to 4 minutes, so I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I just want to play segments of it if I can. So let's do that, um, and see if you can hear me. Oh, sorry. Um, Let me share the screen and with the sound. And this is a show on a respectable network, right? So
Yes.
let's hear this. Let's hear what this anchor Mehdi Hassan has to say. I'm sorry, it's not playing here. I am going to. Um, okay, here it is. Just a second. So it's coming up.
Yeah, yeah, no hurry.
And this is Mehdi Hassan. And Mehdi Hassan is a pretty big platform, right? So here is what Mehdi Hassan has to say. Okay, so Let's share the screen here on my Twitter and tell me when you can play. When can you hear? So this is Mehdi Hassan. All right, listen to
Earlier
him.
this week, Rihanna grabbed global headlines when she posted this viral tweet. Why aren't we talking about this? Hashtag farmers protest, with a link to a CNN article about the Indian government shutting down the internet around the capital, New Delhi, where there have been largely peaceful protests by farmers, some violent. The Indian government's reaction or overreaction to Rihanna's tweet didn't really help their cause. The foreign ministry huffed. The temptation of sensationalist social media hashtags and comments, especially when resorted to by celebrities and others, is neither accurate nor responsible. And Indian police, I kid you not, have filed a case against climate activist Greta Thunberg for also daring to tweet in support of the farmers. Rihanna's right. We should be talking about all this. So let's talk about it. Because there is shared DNA between what's happening in India and what we've experienced in the US under Trump. Millions of Indian farmers and labor groups across the country have been protesting against what they say are 3 pro-corporate, anti-worker agricultural bills passed by the right-wing BJP government of Narendra Modi. It's part of Prime Minister Modi's bid to further liberalize and grow the Indian economy. But farm workers say the new laws will make it easier for corporations to exploit.
Hey, so he already has almost 800,000 views. I don't need to give him a full another view, but we get the gist of it, right? And so let's take this. Let's do a systematic analysis of what they are saying here, step by step. Okay. First, he talked about the farm laws. So let's deconstruct the farm laws and put to rest the myth that has been propagated around the farm laws. Then we talked about the protests, and then we will systematically talk about the protests, which he called largely peaceful. And we have evidence based on photographs, based on statements from neutral observers, based on reporters, television footage, cell phone footage. We'll go over all of that, right?
No. Wait. He's did it very smartly. See, he said protests that were large, some violence. So basically, he says occasionally people might get killed, and we might explode a few bombs here and there,
and put 50 police officers in jail, in hospital.
Yeah, but that's just some violence. So
some violence.
That's a very important part for you.
This is how the anti-Hindu narrative gets built. For people who are listening to this show and people who follow us, please note, our job here is to really show show our viewers, our listeners, and Hindus in general how anti-Hindu narrative is built. Okay, Utsula, without further ado, let's look at the farm laws quickly, because that's not really our emphasis here, but we need to put the truth out there. So we'll put the truth out there. Please, you have done a lot of study of this. Please go over the farm reforms bills, and then we'll talk about all the political implications that go around it. So,
okay. So before
tell us about the farm laws.
Ajay, before I go into the farm law, I want to just expose one more point he lied about. He lied about the fact that Greta Thunberg faces a police case in India, and he followed it by I kid you not, by claiming that Greta was just tweeting something, and that's why she has a police case in India. The fact of the matter is that, again, we are going to go into this after I discuss the farm law. The fact of the matter is that Greta faces a police case in India because she mistakenly posted an entire toolkit, an entire document.
So that you're giving away the whole show. Don't do that.
Okay.
The whole people on till we are now doing this for 40. Don't reveal all the things that are coming up. Otherwise, after first 20 minutes, people will have heard everything and they'll drop off. We are building an audience here, so that we are like suspense, one thing at a time.
Okay. Sure.
Slowly we are building the suspense. Okay, so first of all, when people lie, we have to play some music. Do you have a favorite soundbite we can play for Mehdi Hassan because he lied?
Sure.
All
Please go
right.
ahead.
Which one? I got 100 of these. How about this one?
Ah!
All
Sure.
right. All right.
We
Okay,
can,
so
yeah.
so all the people who heard Utsada talk about Greta Thunberg, Greta Thunberg, and her lying and everything else in the toolkit. Stay tuned. We are going to actually show you the how the what kind of toolkit they're building to build their anti-Hindu narrative. One thing at a time, though. Utsada, first the farm laws and the farm bill. Expose the myth.
So, the thing is that the farm laws actually are very progressive. They are unlike what Mehdi Hassan or any of these influencers, have been, or Greta Thunberg have been claiming. They are actually going to be better for the poor farm workers, and they are actually a move forward, not just from corporate and corrupt farming practices, but also from colonial farming practice. This is very important. These farm laws were designed to help the British, the old ones. And the new farm laws that the Indian government is bringing in is actually going to help free the small farmers from the clutches of those elements which were put in place by the British to exploit India's farming, and not just exploit India's farming, that led to famines every 20 years, 25 years, some of which led to the death of 5, 6 million people each time. So remember this, these were the old farm laws that the Indian government changed. So what are the new farm laws that will benefit the actual small farmers? Are the statuses of APMC and MSPs guaranteed under the old farm law? Yes. Under the new farm law? Yes. And this is the part the Greta Thunbergs and the Mehdi Hassans will not discuss, because they will not go and break the farm laws and compare apples to apples. It's not part of their agenda. Do farmers have the freedom to sell outside the APMC and above MSP? Old farm laws, they could not. New farm laws, yes, they can. It is competitive. Do legal mechanisms force buyers to pay farmers on time? Under the old farm laws, no. So anybody could run away from paying the farmers. Under the new farm laws, yes, they will be held accountable in courts. Are politically backed APMC middlemen in full control of destiny of the farmers? In the old farm laws, yes. And those are the people who are running these violent protests. Those are the middlemen who are politically backed by certain political parties in India. They do nothing. They make money using the work of the farmers. That's what comes from the colonial times. Under the new farm laws, that is not going to happen. Do legal mechanisms assist farmers to prosecute unethical agents or buyers? Under the old farm laws, no, because they were designed by the British. Why would they prosecute themselves? Under the new farm laws, yes. So see, these are some of the things we need to look at point by point. Can buyers get away without not making full payments to farmers? This is buyers. These are not corporations. In the old farm laws, yes, they could get away. In the new farm laws, no, they can't. They face the court of justice. Can farmers fix their own prices? This is what the left is worried about. This is what unionization targets usually. Under the old farm laws, they could not. Under the new farm laws, yes. So, my dear leftist friends around the world, read the farm laws, read the changes, look into your heart, ask yourself, is this what our progressive policies in the West follow? I'm talking to the leftist people here, who love to call themselves leftists. The new farm laws are actually pro-farmers. They actually address your concerns. In fact, they help you. Can farmers end agreements with buyers if they change their mind? Under the old farm laws, they were held hostage to the system. They could not go anywhere else. Under the new farm laws, yes, it's a competitive market. They can go to somebody else. Can farmers sell anywhere in India or abroad to private and government parties or to any other small buyer? Under the old farm laws, no, they could not. It was a socialist Soviet style system that came over from the British. They controlled it, could not leave the country unless the British wanted to let it leave the country. And they did during the world wars. They stole all the food. Under the new farm laws, yes, you can. You can be selling to Canada, you can be selling to America, you can be selling to South America, you can be selling to Europe, Middle East. that offers you global markets. That is exactly what you want. Don't the globalists who oppose this want the same? Haven't they been selling us Coca-Cola and McDonald's and milk products from other parts of the world? They have been. Why are they opposing this? Ask yourself that. Even if you are a leftist, look into it. Just don't oppose anything that Modi does because he's supposedly not a leftist and a right wing or whatever the media has branded him. Look into the laws. Ask yourself these questions. Are farmers essentially at the mercy of politically controlled mandis? That's the term used for wholesale markets in India. Under the own farm laws, yes. Again, these are the middlemen run by the political parties as a source of making income. They are the ones protesting. Under the new laws, no, they won't. They have open market. They have access to everybody. They have access to the laws of the country to prosecute anybody who is misleading you. So look into the three farm bills. If you still want to protest or support protesters and tweet about them or hate Modi, go for it. That helps you. That is good for you. But at least look into the farm laws.
So the awesome job.
Thank you.
I think Ram Tiwari ji has said that GOI should have educated the farmers just after passage in September. GOI should have used media effectively to dispel the false propaganda. We can't really speak for government of India, and our goal here is to spot Hindu angle, Hindu hatred, or Hindu bashing when we see it. So Ramji,
I wanted to say to Ramji,
there's always something better that can be done in terms of educating people. But I think there are some preconceived, preset arguments. It really doesn't matter what reform this particular government brings in and what kind of consultation it does. These farm laws have been debated and discussed, and every single political party had endorsed these laws for at least 25 years. Even Congress had actually advocated for these laws. Canada actually had advocated that India pass these laws because it made Canadian goods more more competitive in the global marketplace. And U.S. government had advocated that India pass sort of these kinds of laws and free up the agriculture from the shackles of these few people who are controlling it. So what we'll do is we will make some of this material available on our website, but we want to really, in the remaining 30 minutes that we have, so that if you're okay, I think you did a great job in myth busting already. So unless you want to make a couple of points here, we can actually move on and talk about the Hindu view of this.
Well, I just want to tell Ramji, his question is very valid. And that's the question that a lot of people ask. Why could there not be a counter narrative built already beforehand? The problem is that there is a counter narrative. That's why there are media outlets in India who actually dislike Prime Minister Narendra Modi and have opposed him throughout his terms on many issues, including promoting things that are not true about him. But even those outlets, even 99.99% of the farmers are not protesting this. They are very happy with this bill. So there is a counter narrative in India. There are people, celebrities in India, who are coming out and saying, look, read what this is. This is actually very progressive. If you believe in what the Western world calls progressive policies, look at the policies. But the people who are promoting this, this outrage against India, this hate narrative, this Arab Spring kind of senseless violence for the sake of violence because there has to be a protest. Those people are not doing it because they care about the farm laws. In fact, I must tell you, and I was having this conversation with somebody else yesterday, had there been no COVID, they would have been still protesting about CAA. And this farmers' protest would have been probably part of a CAA protest. It's not, what we are going to show you is that this is not about laws or rules or anything that Indian government does or the people of India do. It has nothing to do with that. This is entirely designed to create outrage in the society, to create fault lines that already exist and magnify them so that there is violence, there is breakdown of law and order, there is breakdown of governance, and that leads to unrest in the country that leads to eventually breaking down of the national identity of India. That is the whole purpose. As I said, if there was no COVID, you would still be having anti-CAA protests and riots. So,
Excellent point, Utsada.
so that this has nothing to do with Farm Bill and all the Rihanna tweets or Mehdi Hassans and the Greta Thunbergs. We will look into it as we go forward.
Absolutely. Every time you make a good point, we'll give you this music, Utsada. How about that?
I would take it. I would take
All
it.
right.
Since I'm not getting the $2.5 million that Greta Thunberg
Yeah,
is getting.
I was just going to ask
I'm
you.
not getting $2.5 that Greta Thunberg is getting. I'll take the music.
I think in our case, Utsada, we actually, unlike Rihanna, we actually put our own blood and sweat and tears into every tweet we make. We don't get anything out of it. So I think it's a different paradigm. So now let's talk about this toolkit. So what is this toolkit that people keep talking about? Tell us about the tool. We'll talk about Greta Thunberg in a minute. But of course, she's well-known environmental activist. As a teenager, she led environment movement. She's been, and a lot of people around the world follow her, and she has a large following. And she tweeted on this, and we can talk about it. But inadvertently, she actually put out an internal document, which is a toolkit on how to counter Indian government, right? And so tell us about this toolkit. What is this toolkit that people keep talking about?
So as you know, in organized protest or any organized campaign, people make a toolkit of things they can do, people they can approach, what they can say, what they can share. It's a guideline of what the people want and other people to do in an organized effort. So, interestingly, India is a large country and there are millions of Indians who are on social media. And unlike smaller countries where you can create unrest using paid, bots and all, and people don't realize what's happening, Greta thought that she could, just get away with one or two mistakes. And so Greta Thunberg posted this document on Twitter, which basically was a document work in progress. So people were still editing the document on Google. And she posted it, which she did it for just a very short period of time, a few minutes, but it allowed the social media activists on India, people who watch these things, to go into the document and see the agenda of these writers, and they could even see the names of the editors who were editing it. So, and that raised alarm bells because the content of the toolkit that Greta posted by mistake in the beginning basically was a call to create social unrest in India using the farm bills. And they were using trigger words that had nothing to do with the farm bills. They were calling the government fascist for the hell of sake of being fascist. I mean, if you look at the farm laws, they're probably far more socialist than any Western country's farm laws, including America's. But they had to, so they were using trigger words, they were gaslighting, they were telling people what to do to create unrest in India and to make that unrest popular in the global context using social media influencers like Rihanna. And Rihanna's name was obviously on the top of it. They were also telling people to approach governments and peoples in governments that are not always very favorable to India, people who have given statements in the past against Prime Minister Modi, to approach them and garner their support so that they can also influence more people to create unrest. And this is they were trying to create a domino of outrage around the world to make sure that India is forced to kind of backtrack. And that was very, very ill-intended. And that document, when it came out, it pointed to people who have very, very dubious records. And that's why once she withdrew the document, she posted a new toolkit, which was basically a much sanitized version talking about links to campaigns of change.org campaigns and signature campaigns and stuff like that, which is the new updated toolkit that she has publicly is being showing around now, and which is basically call to activism, not call to violence per se. So I
So
think that,
basically, somebody gave a lot of money to Poetic Justice Foundation, which ended up creating this toolkit that becomes a roadmap for not just the protest against the Indian government, but also a toolkit to brand the to brand the Hindus as extremists and brand the government as a Hindutva government, which demeans the word Hindutva, which is basically the essence of Hindu dharma. They denigrate the Hindus, they insult the Hindus, and they put out a roadmap for the world to unite against Hindus and against Hindutva and against instead of taking a purely economic issue and dealing it with a simple protest that it should be. In a democracy, people may agree with laws, people may not agree with laws, and always a India has actually through history, India has demonstrated that you can have a peaceful protest movement, but to take a peaceful protest movement and elevate it to a hatred movement, a Hindu bashing movement, is what this toolkit perpetrated to do. So that when I hear something like this, did you hear that? You
yeah,
didn't
I
hear
thought
that.
that was a small Pomeranian dog was trying to make a noise here.
I shouldn't probably do that. Then I'll have a bigger sound then. So next time. So I want to. What was the result of this? Uh, you know, you heard Mehdi Hassan and you heard Rihanna, and oh, why are we not hearing about this peaceful protest? A little bit of violence, but mostly peaceful. So that this is, we think, and most almost, I would say 70-80% of even farmers think that the kind of violence that happened, and let me show you some pictures and then go to this. That violence that happened on 26th of January on the Indian Republic Day was very similar to the protest and violence that happened in America when the riots happened at the Capitol Hill. You can see the pictures. Red Fort has historic significance. Look at this.
So Ajay bhai, I
Capitol
want
Hill
to,
and Red Fort. Actually,
I,
they put up a flag, a non-Indian flag on the top of Red Fort. And here is another one with people climbing on. Look at this. Compare it with this. How
so
is this any different, Utsada? And no wonder this headline comes that look, exposed. World media's double speak on Capitol Hill riots and farmers' march in India. Utsada, tell me how this is different.
so that is the point. The whole purpose of the propaganda that people like Rihanna and Meena Harris are running is to make sure that people don't equate the violent protests of the so-called self-described farmers. Most of these people are not farmers; they're activists and paid middlemen. Uh, those protests are not equated as the Capitol Hill protests. That is the agenda. Because what happened at the Capitol Hill on the 6th of January was a bunch of right of center folks storming the hill, breaking the laws, and disrupting the governance of the country. And they are facing prosecution for that. What happened in Red Fort on the 26th of January, a day of celebration for the country of India, a lot of national security is involved in that, was the exact same thing. These so-called protesters, I wouldn't call them farmers. I don't want to demean farmers by calling these protesters as farmers. They are not. Most of them are not. These protesters went and disrupted a national ceremony of a country. And they took down the Indian national flag from the top of the dome. Now, that is something that has to be equated with the same vile intention and violent attitude that happened on the 6th of January at the Capitol Hill. But this is where the extreme left, this is where the globalist, disruptors, and add to that the Islamists and the Khalistanis in this case, join hands to make sure and make every effort, and that's why they're paying $2.5 million to Rihanna, to make every effort to not let this equation happen, let this similarity be found out. Instead, by constantly bombarding social media with the terms like fascist Hindu, fascist Hindutva, fascist Modi, you keep repeating the same lie. It's a Goebbelsian technique. You keep calling Modi fascist, Hindu fascist, Hindutva fascist, and then suddenly the common person around the world says, okay, so let me rethink this. So it's not now one group of right-wing protesters who are getting violent, disrupting law, and facing prosecution. Now, now this other group is no more the same thing. Now this other group is actually doing it against the fascists. So suddenly, these violent protesters in Delhi are now fighting fascism. And that is where now they are being told to be different from the protesters who were fascists at the Capitol Hill. And that is where the 2.5 million comes in. So you have to understand, the entire protesters' efforts would be demeaned if they actually get called for who they are, which is violent disruptors who at the least are doing this to make an earning, and who at their worst are doing this to break India's internal cohesion as part of a larger violent effort. No, that information should not be the prevalent public narrative. The prevalent public narrative is, doesn't matter what they're protesting, doesn't matter what law it is, doesn't matter what they're burning, doesn't matter which flag they're bringing down, as long as you call the people who they are protesting against fascists. Okay, they could be 12-year-old kids in a high school, but as long as you brand them fascist, it's all legitimate. You just have to throw the word fascist in front of them, and it is all fine. That is what the Rihannas of the world are being paid to do.
Excellent point, Utsala.
Thank you.
Well, a lot of supporters also there today. I mean, people are cheering you. So I want to read what Ram Tiwari ji said, and I don't know if you want to make any comments. We have a few things to cover, but he says freeze Canada and UK remittances to Punjab for 6 months or until the protest slows down. I don't know if that's legally possible, but certainly a suggestion. And I don't know if you can just single out Punjab, because there are farmers protesting in Punjab, from Punjab, Haryana, and certain parts of especially Western Uttar Pradesh. But I don't know if singling out Punjab is useful. And Mahendra Sapaji is saying, Mahendra Sapaji said, Ram Tiwari ji, a good suggestion. And Mahendra Sapaji goes on to say then that in his opinion, Mahendra ji's opinion, supporting farmers' protest is pretext to target upcoming local elections. So that in interest of time, I thank you, Ramji, thank you, Mahendra Bhai, for giving your opinion. I think I think these are the kinds of conversations everyone should be having, just as part of our basically manthan to come up with a solution. So that I want to go now to this larger narrative, and I have some of these individual slides that I have added. So I'm going to put this up on a full screen. Hey, Utsada, what do these people have in common? I mean, these are all big public celebrities, and these are all well-known people. They're, the vast spectrum of people. There's a Prime Minister of Canada. There's a politician from US. There are big movie stars, like Jim Costa is a politician. There's a big movie star, John Cusack, a pop singer, Rihanna, Instagram star, Amanda Cerny.
You missed out,
politician.
Ajay bhai, you missed out Mia Khalifa. I was hoping Mia Khalifa would make it to this list. What's wrong with you?
I can fill up entire slide deck with these people. Rana Ayub, well-known journalist, I guess, who Supreme Court said made up facts as she went along, but a journalist nonetheless. Simranjeet Singh, a scholar, writer. And on top of it, look who is right in the middle. Meena Harris. So now, what do these people have in common?
So I will say something here that many people may not like to hear, but I will say something, the only thing these people have in common, and I will explain why I'm saying this. So give me some time, Ajay.
Yeah, but be sure of what you're saying. I mean, we're going to hold you accountable for every word you utter
I
here.
Yes, you
And
will.
it's
And
being
I
recorded
want
in
everyone.
5 different places. I'm just saying.
Absolutely.
All right.
The only thing that is common in all of these people, there's only one thing that is common, and that is their their non-formal support for truth. Their non-support for truth. Let me put it that way. They are open to spreading untruth. That is the only thing that is common amongst them. There are other things that I will go into each one of these individuals, which I will explain why they are doing certain things. And that is not common amongst them. Many people were expecting that I would say that, oh, they don't like Hindus, or they don't like India, or there's an overlap of that, or they don't like Hindutva. That comes later. Many of these people don't even know what Hindutva is. So the only thing that is common amongst all of them is their willingness to support untruth for running an agenda. That is the only thing that is common amongst them. Now I will go into each one of them and tell you why they are doing it. Why is Rana Ayub doing it? Rana Ayub is doing it because she is an Islamist who really hates Prime Minister Narendra Modi of India. And her career has been built on that narrative. From being a small-time journalist in India who was writing a book under the patronage of local politicians in India who opposed Prime Minister, at that time, the Chief Minister Narendra Modi of Gujarat, from that small-time journalist to become a globally funded writer for Washington Post with fellowships and scholarships coming from think tanks in America, which are somehow funded by Qatar, a country with very dubious Islamist funding records. Those things make Rana Ayub do what she's doing because she is an avowed Islamist who has an axe to grind against the Prime Minister of India, current Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi. Simranjit Singh, academic, comes from a background where he has an agenda to run against India for the cause of Khalistan. Khalistan is a Sikh separatist state based on an idea of a Sikh identity, 90% of the land of which currently lies in Pakistan, but somehow they don't have the guts to talk about it. So now they want a piece of land out of India for themselves. So Simranjit Singh comes from pro-Khalistan, anti-India narrative. Rihanna, clueless, ideologically left of center, looking for fish, to fry and getting $2 million for a tweet. That's all. She probably doesn't even understand what else is going on here. But so we have to understand, we cannot blame Rihanna for the same infraction that I am blaming Rana Ayub for. Rana Ayub is the person behind the toolkit. Rihanna is the person at the front end of the toolkit. That's how I can explain it for people to understand. Meena Harris.
Hold off on Meena Harris because we have a couple of slides specially dedicated. Or you want me to go to the slide on Meena Harris?
No, that's fine. I'll hold on. Hold off.
I can go to the slide. Either way, it's
No,
fine.
no, that's fine. I'll
Okay.
skip.
All right. So let's continue.
Yeah. Amanda Cerny. Amanda, again, Rihanna has a bleeding heart, has money, loves to champion for causes that make the underdog look good, thinks that these protesters and violent disruptors are underdogs. That's why she's doing it. She doesn't understand anything more of that. So you have to understand.
So that do generally, a lot of, I don't know about Amanda Cerny, but don't a lot of influencers kind of get paid to do promotions and all that? We're not certainly saying that she got paid, but don't many times the influencers do get paid, right, to do this kind of promotion?
I know they do, but I don't think it's also just the money that is making them do it. It's an intersection between money and a bleeding heart that they genuinely perceive this as a cause they are supporting for the good of people. It's just that they don't have the truth on their side and they don't care to know the truth. That's the part that's why I said the only thing common between all of these people is that they really don't care about the truth. Okay. Different people have different reasons why they're doing it, but they don't care about the truth.
How can a prime minister of a country like Justin Trudeau, how can he? I mean, he should know better than to interfere in the domestic affairs of
No,
another
no, no.
country,
It has
especially
nothing to do with
because.
interfering. Ajay bhai, let me put. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with him making a comment on the internal affairs of India. He's a political leader and the prime minister of a country. Let him make that. I'm even accepting that. India probably will make a comment on him as well, which just now I am making. Okay, I'm not
No,
the
but
prime
you're
minister of
not a
India.
government official. You
I
can make any
understand.
comment you want.
But India has the right to make a comment. But all I'm saying is the reason Justin Trudeau is doing it is because he has a constituency in Canada that he has to pacify. I mean, Justin Trudeau will say anything and do anything to get votes. That's what his political track is. He has quoted Islamists, he has quoted Khalistanis, and in this case, it is the latter that is making him make these statements. The irony is that he is the one who is supporting the government of India's laws to make these bills. Justin
Yeah, I
Trudeau
mean, he
can,
went to a World Trade Organization or someplace and said
yeah, he
India should
complained
pass
against
these
India.
laws.
He complained
Yes,
against India for not passing these bills earlier. And
but
now
Justin
he's,
Trudeau has always been a hypocrite.
there
He's
you go.
always been a hypocrite. He,
By the way, we just had Maya Durga join the
hey Maya,
conversation. She
namaste.
moved up.
Thanks
Namaste.
for joining. I know she was up till 2 o'clock working on the slides. So,
Yeah, she says
oh, there you go.
namaskar to
She did a nice
everybody.
namaste. And it's very nice namaste, Maya. And she was up till 2 o'clock preparing. So, I mean, she was a little late in joining, which is okay. Hey,
Yeah.
what about Jim Costa? What's the deal with Jim Costa?
Left of center politician has constituents who want him to talk about it, talks about it. See, this is another thing that is, in America, if you have constituents who are willing to pay you money and who are willing to put the point across and it matches your ideological axe to grind. Same thing with Pramila Jayapal.
Yeah,
She
no,
has been running a vicious anti-India campaign because that's what her
Pramila
constituents.
Jayapal is the strangest of all. I mean, she has a Hindu name. She is from India. And I don't think there is anyone in Congress who hates India and Hindus more than Pramila Jayapal does.
So I think you have to. This is for all the audiences. We need. Okay, we have a commentator along with me here.
Yeah.
So we have to come out of this obsession of looking at names and thinking that somebody thinks like us or likes us, or it's silly. And I keep telling this to all thought leaders, both in America and in India. Just because somebody has a name that sounds like they're from the Indian subcontinent doesn't mean that they care about India or know about India. And Pramila Jayapal is a good example of that. And this is going to keep on increasing. The way and in which the propaganda is working right now against India and Hindus, you will find in the next generation a lot of people with Hindu sounding names who will not like Hindus at all. Who will be anti-Hindu. And it is going to increase day by day. This is what propaganda leads to. And that is why we are having this conversation. The reason we are having this talk is not because this affects India as a country, but it affects Hindus around the world as people. And as people who are some of the last surviving traditional religions, which has survived colonization, which has survived conversions, which has survived genocides, we need to talk about this because this can lead to something like that very, very quickly.
Utsada, we are short on time, but what about John Cusack? Because we want to talk about Meena Harris a little bit. So we're going to probably end up going over a little bit, which is okay. But let's talk about first talk about a little bit about John Cusack. What's the problem with John Cusack?
Well, if you put up the slide again, John Cusack is he's a very, very dedicated extreme leftist slash anarchist individual. He has been supporting leftist anarchist causes around the world for a long time. He seems to do it on cue as well. It's something that he's very well in tune to. So I'm not sure if he's getting any money. I haven't read it anywhere. But he has been, I mean, for example, when Article 370 was removed in Jammu and Kashmir, he has been talking about Jammu and Kashmir for the last 2 years and literally supporting Islamist narrative. And for a movie actor to consistently do that over a long period of time, it is pretty interesting. I've not seen too many movie actors do that. Like, you're literally one step away from supporting Al Qaeda here, and literally, in if you really look at it, organizations like Lashkar-e-Toiba and Hizbul Mujahideen are connected to Al Qaeda. So for John Cusack to go to that extent, and this is about his support to terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir and empathy for terrorists there. For him to say something against India on CA and Farmers Bill and promote this fascist Hindu narrative, I think it's a small step for him. He has been doing this long enough. I don't know why. I really believe that he's a committed anarchist at some level, and he believes these things will disrupt. I don't know why he wants to disrupt India. What has India done bad to him, or Hindus have done bad to him? I believe his ancestors have faced far worse from extreme Christians as well as extreme Islamists and the Nazis. So I guess he should focus more on that. But I don't know, maybe whatever floats his boat. Unfortunately, we are at the receiving end of that hate.
So let's move on because we're short on time. And let's talk about Meena Harris. So for those who don't know Meena Harris is the niece of our Vice President Kamala Harris. And all of a sudden, Meena Harris started tweeting about the farmers. Let me show this slide first and the other slide after this. Where's the slide? There we go. This is the first slide. This kind of went out of order. So look at this. Actually, let me, which one is a good one to start with? So let's start with this one, right? She starts with, she put out a tweet and she said, I'm against the farmers. I'm against the farm bills. Now, this is Meena Harris. I don't think Meena Harris has ever visited a farm in India. Maybe she has, who knows? But she has certainly not studied this issue. She may be a smart person. She went to great schools and everything else. But what does she know about Indian farm laws? I don't think she has read she has actually read the law, but she has a right to, speak her mind, and she does. And she writes that, and then obviously people in India get upset and they protest against, it's not ordinary Meena Harris, right? This is Meena Harris, the niece of the Vice President of America. And when she makes a comment, people in India obviously get upset. They think that she is interfering in India's internal affairs. People in India think that she is against 80% or 90% of the farmers who actually like these laws, the laws that permit them to sell their goods in open market, in addition to having a minimum support pricing. And all the farmers who are now benefiting from this law are upset, and they protest against her, and they burn her photos or whatever they do, right? And then she is like, and then she writes that it's no coincidence that the world's oldest democracy was attacked not even a month ago. As we speak, the most populous democracy is under assault. This is related. We should be outraged by India's internet shutdowns and paramilitary violence against farmers. So did this picture escape Meena Harris? Did she not understand that the people rioting on Capitol Hill and the people rioting on Red Fort, the people trying to occupy the Capitol Hill and the people trying to occupy the Red Fort, that the people are trying to take down a flag on Capitol Hill, and the people are trying to take down an Indian flag on the Red Fort, and she flips the narrative. Not only she is so disingenuous, she's so disingenuous that she flips the narrative, and now she says that look, there is a connection. There's a connection between rioters. Yes, but is there a connection between rioters and the state that is trying to protect a national monument? She doesn't understand that this is the riot where actually most of those who got hurt were actually the policemen and policewomen. There are pictures out there with people who were rioting, almost trying to behead a policeman with a sword, right? And Meena Harris, for her to say that India's paramilitary violence, what paramilitary violence? So what paramilitary violence is she talking about? Wait, so let me finish this. I'm on a rant. I'm going to finish this one more thing. And then she gets support from ultra leftist people in India who have the standard code words that they want to use. Just like you mentioned, you mentioned a few of these code words like fascist, and this woman Vidya comes up, and Vidya Krishnan, and she says, hostile country for women, especially Dalit, and and then in response to what Meena Harris says, that we had to see a photo of yourself burned by an extremist mob, but to imagine that they would what they would do if we lived in India. Hey, Meena, go live in India for 6 months. Okay, go live in India for 6 months before you say before you talk about the conditions in India. Go experience it for yourself, and then you'll always find you, and go live in a place where there is actually, you're not influenced by the leftist cabal. Okay, live in that area, experience for yourself, go live with your chittis. Okay, go live with your chittis and find out more about India. And then people like Vidya come and say, oh, look, this is a country, Vidya Krishnan, right? She says, oh, this is the most hostile country for women, especially for Dalit. And there's a rape culture in India, where the statistics say a completely different story. Okay?
Ajay bhai,
So
I think you spoke for the last 4 minutes because you just wanted to use the word chitti at the end of it.
Yeah,
That's what I think.
exactly. You got it.
That was your whole idea. So I think, the whole purpose of, you keep throwing the word around. I think they should just start their day by repeating a couple of words, like, fascist a few hundred times, hashtag fascist a couple of times, hashtag women, hashtag Dalit. Basically, you just keep repeating these words. It has nothing to do with the event at hand. For example, in this farmers' new laws, the biggest beneficiaries of the new laws would be the extreme small farmers, many of whom, overwhelming number of whom, would be Dalits. So actually, if you analyze who the farmers' laws, the new laws that Modi government has brought will benefit the most, it's going to be the smallest farmers, who overwhelmingly come from the poorest sections of the Indian society, who could be overwhelmingly Dalits. No, but somehow you have to bring Dalit into it, and this is against Dalit, because you just use words in a global context, and nobody knows in this world how that word can affect an individual. So Meena Harris can go and say anything against anybody, incite violence, spread lies, but if anybody comes back and tells her to revisit her own narrative, it's against women. She will even turn it right away at you and throw at you, it's against women. You are being misogynist. You are being against women. Are bhai, at least if you want to start a conversation on a topic which you feel you know something about, let the other person respond about the same topic. Don't run away from it just by saying he's anti-woman. So, look at what the other person is saying. It isn't. So this is the problem with these people, and this is a global problem. Unfortunately, in other parts of the world, these problems are dealt with much more democratically and much more equally, because both sides has voice in most cases. Unfortunately, in this case, this is one-sided bullshit. I'm sorry to use that word on an event, on a VHP Hindu Pact event, but this is one-sided.
Okay,
this is one-sided propaganda, and unfortunately, we really have to call this out. And I know that maybe we'll have 50 people listening to us, and the other side gets paid 2.5 million to have 500 million people listen to them. But it's our responsibility to let at least the 50 people who hear us and watch us know the truth. And maybe they will share it.
I would say that last week's episode was heard by at least 3,000 people. So not quite 2 million people, but 3,000 is respectable. Hey, Utsada, but the good thing came out of this, okay? And the good thing came out of this is that, look, Meena Harris says, I am a Hindu.
I think you were lining up that soundbite for a long time. You knew exactly what soundbite to play for this Meena Harris.
Hey,
I mean,
so
she got into an argument with somebody who called her colonial imperialist, because she is actually furthering literally the British laws against the new progressive laws. She is actually supporting the colonial imperialists.
That may be. So that one thing I will say though, that I understand that she calls, Hindus, people who are Hindu advocates, activists as fascists and all that. Um, I, when a person comes out in open and says, "I am a Hindu," I think the narrative has come a long way in some sense, because there was a period of time during the colonial era and especially after independence, when India was completely subjugated by the leftist so-called intellectuals, but basically lackeys of the Marxists and Leninists, that most people did not want to say that I'm a Hindu. And people involved in the Council of America, or VHP, or not just World Council of America, but World Hindu Council in India, the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, RSS, and HSS, and other organizations did a campaign for decades. And the campaign was titled, and VHP did in America this campaign as well, and it was titled "Garva se kaho hum Hindu hai." Say it with pride that I am a Hindu. And I am so glad, Utsoda, that Meena Harris says with a pride that I am a Hindu. And I think Utsoda, I think, at least I would say that the Hindutva to that extent in America has succeeded, that Meena Harris is not shy of calling herself a Hindu. So I think that I actually welcome her to the fold. She has taken the first step, and now the next step is to really understand. Now that she is not afraid to say that she is a Hindu, the next step is for us to educate and her to learn and become a Hindutva supporter. I know it's a tall order, Utsara, but I'm optimistic. I'm hopeful that will happen. And here's another positive. So the US has backed under the Biden administration, and Meena Harris's aunt has backed the new farm laws and says it will improve the efficiency of the markets. So look,
I
there is
think,
a silver lining, right?
I think the US backed the new farm laws because it would have looked very hypocritical given the fact that both US and Canada were going around the world trying to make India create these new farm laws. So the US had to back it. But I think that is also one of the reasons why Meena Harris is going so crazy, because she also wants to show her leftist friends in India that just because the State Department and the US government has to follow a global decorum and pay some attention to truth, that shouldn't stop the extreme left from going crazy and still doing violence. So I think it's a balancing act.
I think so, but it's really interesting that we have come to this stage where people who claim to be Hindus don't really deeply understand the Hindu issues, and I think there's a lot of work to be done.
So another point I wanted to make, Ajay bhai, and I would ask every listener to think about it. It's also the tyranny of the ecosystem. When you create an ecosystem where billions of dollars, literally billions. I mean, if you look at Open Society Foundation's budget, just one of these organizations, it is actually $11 billion. Okay, so literally billions of dollars are being thrown into the economies around the world to create unrest and champion cause through unrest. When you have an ecosystem like that globally, where billions of dollars are being paid to create unrest, it's like it's like the war industry. You have to create wars. So I feel that if places like India or other parts of the world, if these places actually people start looking at the laws, not just create violence and unrest because for the sake of it as part of a global narrative, then these people will be out of their jobs. They will have to look for real jobs. And there are no real jobs out there for these people. They have trained themselves and educated themselves and honed their skills in these things for years. So they are paid professional activists, and they need to look for a job around the world to do their activism. It's not very different from how, in olden times during the Cold War, countries would create wars to sell their weapons. This is the other end of that. The countries create violence and create disruption to make sure that their paid activists and paid disruptors are employed. Otherwise, they will start doing it in their own country. So this is an extension of that globalized economy of hatred.
Yeah, absolutely, Utsada. Hey, Utsada, that was, I think, for uh, for the uh, for the topic for the day, I think this was we have come to a conclusion. I think we had a really good discussion, and if you will, we had a good tear down of the narrative that is built on the other side. So that next, for all those who have joined us, please stay tuned for Hindu Phobe of the Week. You're going to really like this one. But before we go there, I want to talk about a bit about the Seva, Hindu Seva and Charity Acts of the Week. And so this time I have three of them. So the first one is, Hindu Pact. As you know that we do these activities, and on behalf of Hindu Pact is is trying to set up a formal structure, and do a lot of grassroots advocacy activities, and these activities need funds. So I would urge all our listeners, all our viewers, to please donate generously to Hindu Pact. Okay, please go to hindupact.org and click on the donate button that is right on top and make a donation. You can also sign up to donate $5, $10, $25 a month. And it's automated payments, very easy. Please go and donate even $5 a month. I want to I do want to read a couple of comments that came. I'll do that right after the Seva Charity Act. I know that Ram Tiwari and Thara Narasimhan have put in some comments. I will be reading those in just a minute. Also, that yesterday there were flooding in India and in Uttarakhand, and I do have a typo here. I am missing a H. Ain't I? So I'll put that H here. I quickly made this slide up while we were doing this show because this is an important. So there are a couple of organizations that are collecting money. There's Seva International that has created a special fund for this, and so has the VHP America. So please go to the VHP America website and click on the donate button, or you can go to Seva International website and click on the donate button. And please donate. Over 100 people have supposedly died because of this. It may have been even 150. The numbers are still coming in. There was a glacier that broke loose and caused the flooding. And finally, I want to, Utsara, you want to talk about this a little bit, and then I'll read out the comments before the Hindu Phobe of the Week. Utsara, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Right.
So the last Hindu Seva Charity Act of the Week, and I'm going to claim it as Hindutva Seva Charity Act of the Week, because obviously the entire world is saying that Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the government of India is Hindutva. So on this occasion, let me agree with them and say that the Hindutva, or as Meena Harris would say, the fascist Hindu government of India has sent more than 2 million vaccines to Brazil, and they have sent a few more millions to more than 10 other countries around the world, including some of the poorest and the smallest countries in Africa and Asia. Okay, none of whom are Hindus, by the way. Okay, Brazil is a country that is majority Catholic, who supposedly the Hindutva people love to hate. So for all those haters who think that Hindutva fascist Narendra Modi is, as they want to call him, is the worst person on the planet, and Hindus are the worst people under the world, under the sun. Well, you have a couple of million people benefiting from the vaccines free from these Hindutva fascists.
There you go.
None of whom are Hindus, by the way.
And so that I didn't show the visuals earlier. So these are the visuals for Hindu Pact donation. Please donate to hindupact.org. Please, whichever cause appeals to you, please donate to Hindu Seva Charity Act of the Week and supporting the Uttarakhand floods. You can donate it at sevausa.org/donate or vhpamerica.org/donate, or click on the donate button on the vhpamerica.org website. And here's the visual for a vaccine for Brazil. So that before I go to the next one, I want to read out a couple of comments, one from Thara Narasimhan and the other one from Ram Tiwari. Ram Tiwari says, it's good to know that the prevailing anti-GOI, anti-Hindu situation. But so what does Hindu Pact suggest for us living outside India. And Utsada, I'm going to let you comment because you're the executive director of Hindu Pact. So who better to comment on that than you? And I will also read Thara Narasimhanji's comment. And she says, well, the justice prevailed. India's PM was not one bit intimidated. World over, people went gaga. Google over Rihanna and Greta. Down came the backslap from her own tweet. Uh, Yato dharmasto jaya. Where there is dharma, there will always there will be victory always. Great exposure, Google Drive. So, Utsada, comment from you on what Hindu Pact can do and comment about dharma winning at the end of the day.
Well, as Hindu Pact, we are part of a 501c3, which is registered in the United States. We have absolutely nothing we can do to help the government of India. We have absolutely nothing we can do to help India as a country in this aspect, besides share the truth about Hindus around the world, and which includes Hindus of India. But I think India doesn't need our help. I think what we are trying to do here is critical to counter the propaganda against Hindus and Hindutva and future generations of Hindus around the world. That is what we are trying to do. So what Hindu Pact will do will be to ensure that the millions of Hindus who live in America and the millions of Hindus who live around the world do not face personal, physical, and emotional and ideological discrimination and attacks based on these misinformation and lies that are being spread globally by these extremely powerful disruptionist forces, often an intersectionality of radical Islamists and many other groups. So we are here to counter that, and we are here to counter that with information, with education, with advocacy, and with activism. I think India can take care of itself. India is a country of 1.1 billion people, 1.2 billion people. They have done fantastically well over the last couple of years. Any of these protests, any of these aggressions has not been able to disrupt the popularity and the democratic setup in India. So popularity of Prime Minister Modi stands very high. People love him. People have voted for him twice. Very hard to do in modern times, given anti-incumbency. So India can take care of itself. We wish the best for people of India. But what we are here to do is for people in America and people in other parts of the world who are Hindus and who are people from the underprivileged communities, African Americans, Latinos, Yazidis, Kurds, Armenians, Native Americans. They need our voice. And they need our voice not just for them, but for all the sake of our Hindu generations of the future. That's why we need your help. We need your support. That's why we have Hindu Pact.
Awesome, Utsada.
Ajay bhai, the last part of that clapping was like an underwater submarine's sonar ping. So it went quite eerie very fast, but I'll take that.
You take that? All right. And now, finally, Utsala, Hindu Phobe of the Week. And here is the big reveal.
Well, we had to pick Poetic Justice Foundation as co-founder, avowed Khalistani activist who, has been supportive of a violent, extremist, misguided movement that has led to the death over the last 6 decades, has led to the death of at least 1 million people, most of whom are Hindus and Sikhs. So Mo Dhaliwal, I believe, is a Canadian citizen, who is the co-founder of Poetic Justice Foundation, who is also one of the directors of the marketing firm Skyrocket Inc. that gave $2.5 million to Rihanna as the Hindu Phobe of the Week. It is unfortunate that individuals like this will run agendas that lead to so much hate, so much violence, that has led to so much violence in the past. And our own people, Sikhs and Hindus, have lost lives in the millions.
Hey, Utsada, I want to say one thing, that the $2.5 million that we kept referring to that was given to Rihanna is not based on our own research. As a disclaimer, it is based on a news report that came in some Indian publications. And I don't know if it is verified, we don't know if it's not
It's from
verified.
the Indian publication print.in.
It is from print.inc, and we are merely referring to that. So, if anyone has any problems with the reference that we made, please note that that was something that was already referred to on print, as a news item that came in print.inc and print.in, and it is not something that we have independently verified. Please, go refer to the newspaper, and if you have any questions, direct them to them. We are just reporting on what we have read in print, and again, we have no independent research on that. So, with that disclaimer, Utsada, any final words before we once again play the intro music that as we close today's program? We play the intro music because that is something that was custom made for us, and we want to have a long playtime. Once again, it came through Professor Bharat Jayaraman and Padma Jayaraman.
Well, we went over time today, so I'll keep it very short. Way over time. We are actually 20 minutes over time. We look forward to your support. Hindu Pact so far has been working on a voluntary basis. Everything you have seen us do, everything we have been doing for the last year or so is completely voluntary. We hope to get to a level where we are professional. We hope to be able to support people who are professionals. So donate to us. We need your support. This is right now voluntary effort. We need to go professional. Otherwise, we won't be able to counter what we are facing. Thank you.
Thank you. And by the way, for those who have joined us, thank you very, very much. I want to once again say that this is Hindu Lounge. We come live every Sunday at 11 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Pacific. We are live on Facebook. We are live on YouTube. We are live on Twitter. And we come we talk about contemporary American Hindu issues. The hosts of the shows, my co-host, Utsav Chakrabarti, the executive director for Hindu Pact, and I'm Ajay Shah. I am the convener of Hindu Pact and president of VHP America. I want to thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you next week. And as we fade away, we will play the intro music one more time, custom made just for us.
I drank coffee from a Starbucks cup. So in case Starbucks wants to give us some money, we are open to that. I didn't realize it. The brand logo is showing here. So Starbucks, if you are watching me on YouTube, send us some money.
There you go. Product placement. All right. Utsada, thank you very, very much. And as we fade, this is the intro music one more time. Let me know if you can hear it.